Madagascar is not just an island, it is a world that was separated from the rest of Earth a very long time ago. That isolation turned this place into one of the strangest stages of evolution on the planet. Seen from above, Madagascar appears like a land that is wild, mysterious, and almost detached from the modern world. Green forests, red earth, long coastlines, and completely contrasting ecosystems all exist together on one single island. But what truly makes Madagascar different is not just the landscape. What is astonishing is that life here chose a completely different path. In Madagascar, nature seems to have allowed itself to experiment with its strangest ideas. This place feels like another version of Earth, where every familiar rule has been rewritten in its own way. And the deeper you look, the stronger that feeling becomes. This island is like a giant laboratory sealed off for tens of millions of years. While other continents collided, competed, and changed, Madagascar evolved quietly in its own way. There are no giant predators dominating the land like in Africa. There are no massive herds stretching endlessly across open plains. Instead, smaller, stranger, and more secretive creatures became the main characters here. In this place, power does not always belong to the biggest animal. Sometimes, the best survivor is simply the one that knows how to disappear. Isolation did not make Madagascar poorer in life. On the contrary, it made life here so unusual that it is hard to believe. If there is one symbol that represents Madagascar, it is certainly the lemur. They are not just unusual primates, they are almost the soul of this island. From tiny species small enough to fit in a hand, to social species with striking striped tails, each one tells its own evolutionary story. Lemurs in Madagascar do not live the way people usually imagine primates. Some are active during the day, while others only appear when night falls. Some live in humid rainforests, while others are adapted to dry and unforgiving landscapes. Together, they create a world of primates found nowhere else on Earth. They are not a minor detail of this island. They are one of the deepest parts of Madagascar's identity. Among them, the ring-tailed lemur is perhaps the most familiar face. Its grey coat, bright face, and black and white tail make it stand out even from a distance. But behind that recognizable appearance lies a tightly connected social life. They move together, watch together, and stay alert together. On the ground or among sun-heated rocks, they move like true inhabitants of Madagascar's semi-arid lands. Every movement they make feels both wild and strangely familiar. And that is exactly what makes people forget that they are the product of millions of years of isolated evolution. Looking at them, people see grace, but behind that grace lies a very long story of survival. But if you want to see just how strange Madagascar can be, you have to look at the AA. This is one of those creatures that makes the world stop and stare in disbelief. Its shaggy fur, huge eyes, sharp teeth, and abnormally long middle finger make it look like something from a bizarre dream. And yet, that strange appearance is a perfect design for life in the darkness. The AA does not hunt with speed, and it does not hunt with strength. It hunts with hearing, with patience, and with a method almost no other creature uses. It is the kind of invention only Madagascar could produce. This is the moment when nature seems to go far beyond human imagination. The more you look at it, the stranger it seems, and yet the more perfectly it makes sense in the logic of evolution. In the depths of the night forest, the AA taps on tree trunks to listen for hollow spaces hidden inside the wood. The echo reveals where larvae are hiding. Once it finds the right spot, it uses its teeth to tear through the bark. Then its thin, hook-like finger slips inside to pull the prey out. It is a hunting strategy that is eerie, precise, and almost surreal. In the darkness of Madagascar, this strange creature moves like a ghost, listening to the heartbeat of the forest. And every time it appears, it feels as though we are witnessing one of evolution's oldest secrets. Somewhere else, a creature like this might never have existed. But in Madagascar, it is a completely natural part of the night. If the AA is Madagascar's most eccentric face, then the chameleons are its most colourful one. Madagascar is one of the richest places on Earth for chameleons. Here. Colour is not only for camouflage. Colour is also a signal, an emotion, a warning, and a language. On a single thin branch, a chameleon can shift from green to yellow, from yellow to red, changing like a living palette. Those transformations make its body seem like a biological screen reacting to the world around it. And in Madagascar's forests, that is both beautiful and almost unbelievable. This is not just biology, it is something very close to living art. The panther chameleon is the clearest embodiment of that almost unreal beauty. Each individual looks as though it were painted by hand, with colours too perfect to believe they are natural. But behind that brilliant appearance is a body built for survival with astonishing precision. Its independently rotating eyes allow it to scan nearly everything around it. Its feet grip even the thinnest branches with confidence, and its tongue, fired in a fraction of a second, turns insects into prey before they can react. Madagascar does not just create strange creatures. It creates hunting machines, so refined they look like works of art. Every detail of its body proves that beauty and efficiency are not separate things. In Madagascar, they often exist together. But not every creature in Madagascar chooses to stand out. Some survive through the art of vanishing completely. The leaf-tailed gecko is one of those masters. Its body is flat, its skin fringed, and its tail looks exactly like a dead, decaying leaf. Its brown, grey, and faded yellow skin blends so perfectly with bark and leaf litter that the human eye can barely detect it. It does not need to run fast. By simply remaining still, it becomes part of the forest itself. This is the kind of camouflage that almost erases the boundary between creature and environment. And it is also a reminder that in Madagascar, life sometimes survives by choosing silence. In Madagascar, survival is not always about winning through strength. Sometimes, survival simply means disappearing before anything else notices you exist. The leaf-tailed gecko is the perfect embodiment of that philosophy. Every contour of its body, every patch of color, every leaf-shaped tail shows the fine-tuning of countless generations. Looking at it on a tree trunk, it feels as if nature is performing an illusion, and that illusion has worked for millions of years. This is a kind of perfection that could only emerge in an isolated evolutionary world like Madagascar. The strangeness here is not random. It is the result of time, environmental pressure, and relentless natural selection. But Madagascar is not only home to small creatures hiding in darkness or vanishing into bark. This island also has its own apex predator. It is the fossa, a creature that is difficult to place at first glance. It looks partly like a cat, a little like a civet, and entirely like a killer built for the treetops. With no lions and no leopards, Madagascar gave the role of forest ruler to a predator that is slender and agile. The fossa does not need to be massive to be terrifying. Speed, silence, and almost perfect climbing ability are enough. It is a kind of power that does not need to show off. But the moment it appears, every other animal pays attention. High in the branches, the fossa can chase lemurs with a precision that almost stops the viewer's breath. Its body slips through the trees like water running over stone. Every leap, every grip, every sharp turn shows that this is Madagascar's own peak predator. It is nothing like the familiar hunters of mainland Africa. It is the product of an island that had to write its own rules for survival. And in those rules, agility can be more frightening than brute force. The fossa is a reminder that power in nature can take very different forms. In Madagascar, even the top predator carries a completely unique identity. And that is one reason this island always feels both strange and captivating. Leaving the humid canopy behind, Madagascar reveals a completely different face in the south. This is the spiny forest, one of the strangest ecosystems on Earth. Twisted trunks, dense thorn thickets, and bizarre plant forms make this place look like the surface of a distant planet. Here, beauty is not gentle ... it is sharp, dry, and full of challenge. Every thorn feels like a reminder that life in this land has never been easy. And yet, in these harsh conditions, Madagascar once again shows nature's astonishing creativity. This landscape does not invite life in. It tests every creature that dares to exist within it. In lands where water is scarce, every living thing must learn to conserve every chance of survival. Trees swell their trunks to store moisture. Animals become more careful about when they move. The light is harsher here, the shade is rarer, and mistakes are more costly. And yet, the harshest places often produce the boldest forms of life. Madagascar seems to prove that again and again. Here, environmental pressure does not destroy life. It forces life to become different. In a way, harshness itself becomes the engine of evolutionary creativity. And Madagascar is one of the clearest examples of that truth. In those dry lands, the baobabs rise like ancient witnesses of the island. Their swollen trunks look like living reservoirs, and their branches stretch upward like roots turned upside down. At sunrise or sunset, they stand like monuments to time itself. Baobabs are not just trees, they are Madagascar's living memory. They tell the story of a land that adapted, endured, and survived enormous changes in climate and history. Unlike the island's animals, they carry a beauty that could only be born from isolation and hardship. When people look at baobabs, they do not just see plants. They see the depth of time standing still before their eyes. Madagascar is not only strange in its individual species, but in the way its entire ecosystem works together. Bird calls, insect sounds, soft footsteps on dead leaves, movements high above, and even the silences are tied together into a harmony of their own. Every creature here is a link that cannot be replaced. When one species disappears, it is not only a shape that vanishes from the world. A role, a relationship, and an evolutionary answer vanish with it. That is what makes Madagascar both beautiful and fragile. And the more you understand this island, the more you realize the true value of diversity that can never be repeated. This is not the beauty of abundance. This is the beauty of uniqueness. But Madagascar today is not only a story of wonder, it is also a story of loss. Forests that were once vast are now shrinking and breaking apart. For species that evolved in isolation, the destruction of habitat is an especially cruel blow. They have nowhere else to retreat. There is no second Madagascar anywhere on Earth. And so, every patch of forest that disappears erases a unique piece of natural history. The fragility of this island is exactly what makes its beauty feel even more haunting. The stranger it is, the more vulnerable it becomes. And that is Madagascar's greatest paradox. When a species disappears in Madagascar, what is lost is not merely a name or a biological list. It is the disappearance of an entire idea that evolution spent millions of years creating. An a fossa, a leaf-tailed gecko, or a troop of lemurs are not just animals. They are unique answers to the problem of survival, and none of those answers can be copied anywhere else on Earth. Perhaps that is why Madagascar does not simply amaze us. It also forces us to respect the limitless imagination of nature. This island is not just a place. It is proof that life is always more creative than human imagination.